Some engines are forever remembered for their greatness. Others are remembered as cautionary tales. The Cadillac HT4100 falls squarely into the latter. When it debuted in the early 1980s, the HT4010 was promoted as a technological breakthrough, compact, fuel-efficient, and environmentally friendly. It was Cadillac's promise to lead the modern automotive era, overcoming fuel crises and increasingly strict emission regulations. But within just a few years, that promise crumbled under customer outrage and an entire generation of engineers' embarrassment. Severe failures, unrealistic design choices, and underwhelming performance made the HT4100 one of the most heavily criticized engines in Cadillac's history. In this video, we'll dive back into the past to dissect the technical flaws, misguided strategies, and hard lessons from a power plant once expected to save an entire luxury car empire. In the early 1980s, America was no longer a haven for massive V8-powered cars. Two oil crises within a decade had reshaped consumer habits. People no longer wanted big cars. They were turning to more fuel-efficient alternatives, especially those coming from Japan. Strict emissions regulations and government-imposed fuel economy standards further tightened the screws. For Cadillac, a brand synonymous with luxury, power, and large displacement engines, this was both a cultural and strategic shock. The mighty 7.0-liter V8s, once considered engineering marvels, were now seen as outdated, wasteful, and polluting. GM faced a make-or-break decision: stick to tradition and watch their market share evaporate, or reinvent Cadillac for a new era. They chose the latter, developing an entirely new engine platform that was lighter, smaller, and more modern to replace the aging 6.0-liter and 8.2-liter big blocks. Thus, the HT4100 project was born. It was an ambitious move, but one fraught with risk. Cadillac had never built an engine like this before. It was a technical gamble, and history would soon reveal just how costly that gamble would be. From the name High Technology alone, Cadillac sent a clear message. This was not just a new engine, but a symbol of the brand's technological reinvention. The HT4100 was a V8 engine with a displacement of 249 cubic inches, featuring a radically different design from Cadillac's earlier V8s. The engine block was cast from aluminum, significantly reducing weight compared to traditional cast iron. To reinforce the cylinder walls, Cadillac inserted cast iron liners into the aluminum block, a solution rarely used in mass-market vehicles. Additionally, the engine employed a throttle-body electronic fuel injection system managed by a centralized engine control unit. This setup worked in tandem with oxygen sensors, engine temperature sensors, and electronic ignition controls to optimize the air-fuel mixture and reduce harmful emissions. On paper, this represented a major leap forward. Lighter weight, lower internal friction, improved fuel economy, and smoother performance. Cadillac placed high hopes on the HT4100 to be the engine of the future, compliant with stringent emission standards while redefining what American luxury cars could be in a new decade. Yet amid all those grand expectations, reality proved far more brutal. The HT4100 didn't become the engine of the future. It became a textbook example of rushing unproven technology into production. On paper, it was a modern marvel. But in the hands of real-world Cadillac owners, it quickly turned into a nightmare. The first problem stemmed from the hybrid aluminum and cast iron construction. The aluminum engine block and cast iron cylinder liners expanded at different rates under heat. In real driving conditions, aluminum expanded faster than iron, placing stress on seals and joints. This often led to coolant leaks, internal corrosion, and even cracked engine blocks. The cylinder head gasket was another critical weak point. Rapid heat spikes could rupture the gasket, allowing oil and coolant to mix. This was a major cause of sudden engine failure, an unacceptable event in a luxury car costing tens of thousands of dollars. Then came the lubrication system. The camshaft was too narrow and frequently suffered from inadequate oil flow, causing rapid wear. This reduced power, introduced knocking and vibration, and increased fuel consumption. Finally, the electronic control system, though advanced in concept, was prone to failure due to unstable components. When sensors malfunctioned or gave incorrect readings, the engine would run poorly. Weak performance, erratic behavior, and difficult repairs, especially in an era lacking sophisticated diagnostic tools. Many Cadillac owners had to replace their entire engines just a few years into ownership. For those who once saw Cadillac as the pinnacle of luxury and reliability, the HT4100 disaster felt like a betrayal. Instead of delivering the expected smooth as silk, strong as steel experience, this engine sent drivers to repair shops more often than luxury getaways. Cadillac's core models, DeVille, Eldorado, and Seville, were all equipped with the HT4100, meaning the problem wasn't isolated but spread across the lineup. Owners faced fluid leaks, electrical malfunctions, engine stalls, and massive repair bills. For many, it was the first time they ever had to call a tow truck for a Cadillac. Things got so bad that some dealerships replaced entire engines under warranty. Mechanics jokingly referred to the HT4100 as hope to 100,000 miles, a milestone most never reached. Cadillac's image, once a proud symbol of American craftsmanship, began to crumble. Loyal customers turned to European brands, especially German and Japanese ones, where smaller engines were more reliable. Cadillac's sales plummeted throughout the 1980s, and its reputation would take nearly 2 decades to recover. This raises the question, how did Cadillac fall so hard while its competitors seemed to thrive? To find the answer, we need to examine the strategic paths others took and the key mistakes Cadillac made. While Cadillac was struggling with the Cadillac HT4100 and a flood of customer complaints, rivals like Mercedes-Benz, BMW, Toyota, and Honda took a very different route. Instead of trying to reinvent the luxury engine, they focused on perfecting what already worked: inline 6-cylinder engines ranging from 180 to 220 cubic inches, durable, easy to service, fuel-efficient, and smooth thanks to refined ignition and balancing systems. Meanwhile, the HT4100, with 249 cubic inches, offered weaker performance, lower reliability, and more complexity. Cadillac bet on a high-tech gamble with an engine unproven in real-world use, while competitors evolved their designs steadily and sensibly. Another major misstep was Cadillac's decision to develop the HT4100 in isolation from the rest of General Motors. The engine couldn't share parts with other GM platforms, driving up costs and making parts harder to source. Cadillac could have learned from Buick's reliable 6-cylinder engines or the economical 4-cylinder units developed by GM Europe, but instead it went solo. And that's where the failure began. Instead of scrapping the platform entirely, they chose to improve it step by step, leading to the development of the HT4500 and HT4900 engines. The HT4500, with a displacement of 273 cubic inches, debuted in 1988. Cadillac reinforced the engine block, improved oil flow passages, installed a sturdier camshaft, and upgraded the electronic fuel injection system for better accuracy. It offered more power and far greater reliability than its predecessor, easing pressure on service departments. Then, in 1991, Cadillac introduced the HT4900 with 299 cubic inches of displacement, the most refined and capable version of the high-technology series. It featured enhanced ignition, lighter pistons, smarter control software, and a far more stable cooling system compared to the original HT4100. However, despite technical improvements, neither engine could restore the trust of customers who felt betrayed. Many had already turned to other brands that didn't make bold promises, but simply delivered cars that worked. And once trust is broken, what remains are stories, sometimes bitter, sometimes humorous, but always steeped in disappointment. To many owners, the Cadillac HT4100 became more than just an engine. It was the symbol of a promise gone unfulfilled. One former Cadillac technician recalled, "We stopped changing spark plugs or oil filters, we just changed the whole engine." At many dealerships, full engine replacements during the first year of ownership were not uncommon. Another owner shared that his 1984 Cadillac DeVille suffered total engine failure after just 36,000 miles and was towed home by an old Toyota. That's when I realized Cadillac just wasn't Cadillac anymore. Even on classic car forums today, the HT4100 is jokingly called "Hope to reach 100,000 miles." Few engines reach that mark without needing a full rebuild, and some chose to look back with humor. It wasn't the worst engine ever built, but it was the worst one I ever owned. The failure of the Cadillac HT4100 didn't just damage sales and reputation, it forced General Motors to reassess its entire approach to engine development. First, they realized that what sounds advanced on paper doesn't always work in practice. Combining too many unproven technologies, from new materials and unfamiliar designs to experimental electronic systems without proper testing, led to disaster. From that point, Cadillac shifted its development mindset. Instead of chasing trends recklessly, the focus turned to long-term reliability and serviceability. The development of the Northstar engine series, launched in the mid-1990s, was a clear sign of this evolution. Northstar featured a more durable aluminum alloy construction, improved cooling systems, and significantly better high-speed performance than the HT4100. Cadillac also learned that luxury isn't just about cutting-edge technology, it's about peace of mind behind the wheel. A stable, easy-to-service engine forms the foundation of any luxury driving experience. Today, when people look back at the Cadillac HT4100, they don't see just a failed engine. For many automotive enthusiasts, it symbolizes a difficult era in American car history, a time when even the biggest brands had to adapt or fall behind. In the collector world, few actively seek Cadillacs with original HT4100 engines. Most early 1980s DeVille, Eldorado, and Seville models have long been retrofitted with more powerful and reliable engines, usually V8s from Chevrolet or Buick. However, a small group of purists still pursue full, bolt-for-bolt restorations. For them, the HT4100 is a worthwhile challenge, a commitment to preserving the exact mechanical character of that era, flaws and all. Ironically, the HT4010's failure is precisely what made it memorable. It's a regular topic in vintage car forums, a story retold at exhibitions, and a classic case study in engineering schools of what not to do in engine design. Though tarnished, the HT4100 holds historical value, not for what it achieved, but for the lessons it forced us to learn. The Cadillac HT4100 may not have been a triumph, but it was certainly a milestone. It reminds us that technology, no matter how promising, requires time, testing, and humility, and that reputation, once damaged, takes years to rebuild. For those who owned a Cadillac powered by the HT4100, it may have been a frustrating or even laughable experience. But for the auto industry, it served as a valuable lesson in balancing innovation with reliability. If you've ever driven or worked on an HT4100, share your story in the comments. Did you hate it or come to understand and forgive it? And if you enjoyed this journey, hit like, subscribe, and share this video with fellow car enthusiasts. We'll keep bringing you honest stories from America's colorful automotive past.